On today's episode of Locked On Avalanche, Nathan MacKinnon is at the top of his game right now. In 5 years' time, could he not even be in the top 10 point scorers in the league? One website seems to think so. Let's talk about it. New episode of Locked On Avalanche coming at you.
You're Locked On Avalanche, your daily podcast on the Colorado Avalanche. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
All right, everybody, welcome to the Locked On Avalanche podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I'm your host, Chris Maselli. With me, as always, Mr. Shaggy Von Doom, Kyle Sullivan. Thank you for tuning in, making it your first listen of the day. Always appreciated. Make sure you're following us on our social media outlets, LOPN_Avalanche on Twitter, X, Locked On Avalanche on Instagram and Threads. Questions, comments, concerns, and opinions, LockedOnAvalanche@gmail.com. And follow us on our YouTube channel. Hit subscribe, get notified when a new show goes live. And make sure you're subscribed to our subtext as well. Link to that's in the show notes below. And when you do chat with Kyle and I one-on-one, we get your opinion, everything Avalanche related, which we share on this very podcast. All right, sir, it's Friday. We got a long weekend ahead with the holiday. So we're going to get into the top defensemen in the league, according to the NHL Network. And an interesting take I'll have to have on it. I can't go back on my word. So we'll talk about that. The Avalanche, as we know, they have a lot of one-year contracts that they doled out this offseason. Who, if any of them, do we feel could I don't want to say make a name for themselves, but sign another contract, maybe for more than 1 year? Who could be, out of the 1 year contracts that they signed, who could be that guy? We'll talk about that. But where we're going to start is, like I said in the opening, Nathan MacKinnon coming off an MVP season, career high in points, just did everything you could ask a player to do. And, you know, it's his best year that he's had, without a doubt, right? He's at 28 years old, so he's still a young buck and got a long way to go. And the Bleacher Report came out with an article, and this thing is titled Predicting, I'm going to get it right, Predicting the NHL's 10 top scorers in the next 5 years. And I'm okay with this. I don't mind doing it. This is off-season content, right? I mean, you got to come up with some interesting things every once in a while. But it's if I'm bringing up Nathan MacKinnon, you know this is not going well.
No, and especially like if you're bringing up next 5 years, top 10, and you're approaching this article with such hesitancy, it makes me very curious. And also, if you're predicting the next 5 years of top 10 scoring, and they have a named list, they're not even accounting for the potential, the next big thing, the next Connor Bedard. So that could push him down even farther, possibly.
He's on here, though. Bedard is on here. So, but let me go through who's on here.
Okay.
I'm not going to bury the lead anymore. Nathan MacKinnon is not on here. So we'll get to that in a minute. But here's your 10. And it's not in order of who they think is going to be leading the league. It's not even alphabetical. So I think they just threw the top 10 names up and talked about them, which whatever. But the first person they put up here is Macklin Celebrini. So you got Celebrini. You have Jack Hughes. Totally fine with that. I think he'll definitely be on there. Jason Robertson, interesting one. Austin Matthews, Leon Draisaitl, Cale Makar is on there. They have a defenseman on there, and there's Cale Makar for top 10 in scoring. Dylan Guenther is on here from the Utah Hockey Club. Seth Jarvis is on here from the Carolina Hurricanes. Of course, Connor McDavid is on there, and Connor Bedard is on there. So those are your 10 guys. So they are feeling that Nathan MacKinnon is not going to be on here, and Cale Makar is going to have more points than Nathan MacKinnon will in 5 years' time. I don't know if Bleacher Report maybe just had a brain fart and forgot Nathan MacKinnon played in the league, because in five, what did it say? He's 20 years old, right? 28 years old. Yeah. So he's going to be over 30. But do you really think in 5 years' time, Nathan, it's going to be such a drop off for MacKinnon that he's not going to be top 10 in the league in scoring?
it honestly, like listening to that list, I don't know who out there listening or watching isn't just listening to that list with like a pickle face where it's just like it's sour. It doesn't make a lot of sense. Like 5 years from now, like look at 5 years behind us and Nathan MacKinnon and what he's done and escalated his game. And by the way, he's not out there giving all he's got. It's not an extremely gassed effort. Like it's effortless for him to reach these milestones and score like he does. And I know Austin Matthews is up there, but when it comes to like McDavid, you don't even know if he's going to be an Edmonton Oiler in 5 years. Like there's,
which I mean, if he's not, would it matter? I mean, the guy can go play on Arizona right now, and he'll be or not Arizona.
The top names, like Nate's here for 5. Like you're good. You know Nate is going to be good for 5 more years. And with the household names that they put on this list, and like I have like a passion for the Devils, but Jack is being a top 10 scorer in the next 5 years. He will. But without Nathan MacKinnon, and you said, do they forget Nathan MacKinnon plays in the league? Do they forget Mikko Rantanen's also there? And why is Cale Makar also up here?
The Makar thing is weird, like because that's what you're saying. Like he plays on the same team as Nathan MacKinnon. So I mean, very rarely do defensemen lead their team in points, and it's even more rare when you have 2 guys on that team that can get 100 points. I would say with relative ease, but pretty easily. It's odd to have them up there. Maybe they're just trying to throw defense, and they say that's it's weird putting a defenseman on here, but we're going to do it.
If for your defenseman to lead in points, where is that puck going? Like you have to be assisting Nathan.
Someone's got to be giving them to him,
right? Or Mikko Rantanen.
Yeah, because we're always talking about how they're playing on the same line together. So
exactly, he's not going out there scoring 70 goals. So where is the assist going? So it's interesting that they forgot Nathan MacKinnon that quick.
So this is who's top 10 just this past year. Obviously, Kucherov, he's not on that list. And you got MacKinnon. So the top 2 guys from this last year are not on there. There's McDavid. Artemi Panarin, he's not on that list. David Pasternak is not on that list. Matthews was 6. Draisaitl was 7. Mikko was 8th. JT Miller was 9. And Willie Nylander was 10. 11 is Kirill Kaprizov. He should be on that list.
Yeah, that's another good name.
And if we're here talking about like the age thing, if Nathan MacKinnon will be 33 years old in 5 years, he could still, easily put up numbers, great numbers, top 10 numbers at 33 years old. Sidney Crosby was 12th in the league in scoring last year. And he's 38 years old?
Yeah, he's not going to be around for 5 more years.
No, I'm not saying that. I'm just saying the age he's at now, he's right outside the top 10. So
I think that's probably why they didn't put Kucherov in there as well. You don't anticipate 5 more years of him like that. I understand. Like a couple of those names that you listed, you're like, okay, you're thinking with the 5 years ahead. And when we talked about Nathan MacKinnon and like his season projections and what we expect out of Nathan MacKinnon next year, I feel like this is going to be the case for the next 5 years because I feel like he's going to match or top his production from last year and the year before, honestly, from here on out, because it feels like he's finally got comfortable with his game and his stride because he's always trying to find that avenue. And it feels like Nathan MacKinnon has fully established his game and it's top tier, like best in the league. He's got the hardware to prove it. And I feel like for the next 5 years, it's going to be more of the same.
Yeah. A couple other guys that they mentioned on here. Jason Robertson. So last year, he was 29th in the league, and he had 80 points in 82 games. Could be one of those things where it's like, if he keeps progressing, could he ascend to a top 10? Sure. So, it's one of those outside. I mean, he's got the talent to do it. God. But I think what they were trying to do with this list is just kind of mix it up a little bit. I'm okay with that. Like, you don't like seeing the same names year in and year out. That's kind of boring. But the one, like, I'm not putting Macklin Celebrini in there right now. No. Like, I think the guy, he's going to be a good hockey player, but we love doing that with the young prospects, those guys, those blue chippers that, we're expecting the world from. And if you want to throw Bedard in there, go ahead, because he's one of those generational guys. I like Macklin Celebrini. I don't love him, to be totally honest with you. Like and let's not forget the team he's playing on.
Yeah.
Do it's going to be a haul for San Jose. And is San Jose going to be a bad team with a top 10 scorer on their team in 5 years? I don't know. Like, I don't know where the team is going to be. That's tough to say. But I think that is kind of maybe just a little bit bait clicky to throw him on that list, if you ask me.
Like, and Robo makes sense because in 5 years, they've already lost Pavelski. Like, Ben's probably retiring. Like, with Heiskanen, I think Robo's going to be all right. I think he's going to be probably up there, and he's going to be giving the top line for the Avs problems when it comes to scoring. But when Celebrini, you need 5 years just to get your footing with the situation that he's inheriting. Like, and Bedard, the jury's still out. Like, can you? I don't know. I still would like to see. Yes, he's had a good year, but hey, everybody else has got tape on him and they know what to do. Can he take that next step up? Because he's doing this at a very young age. Can he take the next step up? The jury's still out.
Yeah, we'll see. And Dylan Gunther they threw in there, and that's okay. I'm all right. Like, throw one of the guys that's maybe under the radar, and when you play for Arizona/Utah, you're going to be under the radar. But who's a really good, fun hockey player to watch. And if they just kind of right the ship, he could be a guy who top 10, that's a long stretch for me to get to right now. But one of the kind of up and comers who's maybe not on a lot of casual hockey fans' radar, definitely.
Yeah, I think this article was penned with you in mind, leaving Nathan MacKinnon off and putting a Utah Hockey Club player on.
Yeah,
they knew this would hit your algorithm.
Yeah, I mean, my algorithm's just going all over the place because it's like, it's good stuff, it's bad stuff. I don't know what to make of this, but the bottom line was, I mean, it just, the first time I read this, I was scrolling, waiting for like, oh, where's Nathan MacKinnon? Where's Nate? And I get to the bottom of it and he's not there. I'm like, come on, guys. Come on. All right. If you want clicks, okay. Then if you want that, then don't put Connor McDavid on there.
Yeah.
Don't put Draisaitl on there. Give me 10 fresh guys who've never been on there. Do it that way. But to completely drop off Nathan MacKinnon on this thing is kind of
the Draisaitl one is also very iffy at best for the next 5 years.
We'll see where he's playing and all that too, but there's a lot that comes into it, so it's tough to break it all down in 5 years. But interesting. All right, let's get our first break in, and when we come back, the 1-year contracts for the Colorado Avalanche. Who could turn that 1-year contract into a multi-year contract? We'll talk about that coming up next. First, let's hear from FanDuel, which you've heard us talk about it a lot before. That's America's #1 sports book, and FanDuel. Well, they have something a little different for everybody. And now through September 22nd, all FanDuel customers can bet $5 and they get a 3-week free trial of NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube and YouTube TV. Then with a YouTube TV base plan, you'll be able to watch every regular season Sunday afternoon out of market game. And all you need is a Google account and a current form of payment, and you can cancel at any time. And one other thing that Kyle and I are going to be doing during this season, because we are so good at sports betting, during the week, whenever we have a FanDuel read, we're going to pick 2 games. Could be college. Kyle's a big college guy. I enjoy college football, obviously, or college or NFL. And we're going to give you 2 picks each. That's 4 picks that I would say bet the opposite on, at least for mine. And we'll keep a running total all throughout the season and see how we do, which I can almost guarantee you is going to be not very good, but we'll have some fun with it anyway.
Oh, yeah.
So you can visit FanDuel.com/lockedon to download America's #1 sportsbook. All right, sir. So, the Avalanche in the offseason did pretty much what we were expecting them to do with contracts. You knew they were not going to bring in a big name at a big number at a big term. It just was not in the cards for them this year. And they go ahead.
What about Sidney Crosby? What about Patty Kane? Like,
yeah,
please.
Come on now. We still got room, right? Is there still room? No, there's not. But they did what we were expecting them, maybe even a little bit more than we were expecting them to do. But we knew it was going to be short-term, low-dollar deals. That's what we did. So you look at those guys that they brought in for these one-year contracts, and hopefully by the law of averages, the amount that they signed, somebody's got to have a good season, right? Someone's got, maybe even a few of these guys can pan out where, hey, the system works. And can they make that 1 year deal that they came in on, turn it into maybe a 2 or 3 year deal next off season? So let's go through these guys and see, who you like, who you think fits the system, and maybe could be sticking around for a few more years.
Yeah, you want those 1 year guys to make it really difficult at the end of the year when their contract is up, and you enjoyed their play and what they bring to the Avalanche, and you want them to stick around because you don't want to have like Erod syndrome where you're watching him hoist the cup and you're like, man, I miss what he brought to the team.
Exactly. So we're not going to throw any RFAs on here because they likely will be sticking around. This is, like I said, just like the 1 year contract. So yes, Jonathan Drouin, we are going to put him on here. Yoel Kiviranta, he was one. Oliver Shillington, Calvin DeHaan, Eric Brandstrom. He is an RFA, but they did bring him in for that 1 year. Maybe you can throw him on there if you want. And there's some guys in the AHL too, but any of like those, and these are all depth guys, obviously. Yeah. So what are you thinking?
Well, number one, I mean, easy. This is feast or famine year for Jonathan Drouin. Absolutely. Like, we talk about it many times. This is the prove it, like, point to your number year. Another year in the same system. This is the be all end all for Jonathan Drouin.
Right. So here's my thing with Drouin though. Like, if he has another really good season, like we were thinking, like, did he price himself out of Colorado this past year? If he has another excellent season, and he admitted he took a haircut to stay in Colorado and at a low number, they didn't have the money to go around. If worst case scenario for him is, Gabe Landeskog returns and that money comes back on the books, Val Nichushkin pans out and his money stays on the books. Mikko Rantanen is looking for a new contract, which he likely will get. So are we here next year just saying, like, we don't have the money again for you if he has a really good season?
It
could be.
There's this thing that bothers me. The more it goes on and deeper in this off season, you wonder how much pull Nathan MacKinnon has with, hey, look at the numbers that I got. This whole, like, Jonathan Drouin, Nathan MacKinnon thing that was hyped up when he came in, there was some truth to that. And they do play really, really well together. And when they sync up, like, it's almost like, hey, yes, Mikko is great with me, but I need Drouin as a line mate. And when that conversation comes up, they look at Nate and he's like, hey, I need him to stick around. I wonder how much pull that would have in that situation.
I think you got that pull in year one, obviously, for him to come in and play for that amount that he did. And for this year, because, this is almost his way of saying, like, okay, I'll stick around again because, yeah, you guys really helped me out last year. You bumped me up a little bit. If it happens again, I want to get some meat on the bone here. And I think after 2 years of 2 really good years, there's going to be a line at the door for him. And if the Avs don't if he's got a number in mind and the Avalanche can't match it, I would not surprise me if Drouin walks.
Yeah.
We all want to throw this relationship that he has with Nathan MacKinnon, which is very real, very, they're really good friends. But the dollar talks too. and you get one shot at your best contract, and that is going to be this upcoming year if it all goes well for Drouin. So I'm sure the Avalanche will try to make this work, but if all those dominoes fall into place for the Avalanche with contracts they already have on the books, and they Gabe Landeskog doesn't retire, and Vanachuskin plays an entire offseason and doesn't get suspended again, and Mikko Rantanen signs his extension, where's the money for another really beefy contract to go to Jonathan Drouin? I don't know if it's there.
Yeah, the Drouin conversation is going to be rough and interesting all at the same time all year long. But like when you're looking at the rest of those 1-year contracts, DeHaan, you don't feel like that's going to be another year. Like it's, I don't know.
Well, the thing with that is like he's got to be healthy.
That's
which has been a struggle for him.
And why would you figure that out in Colorado where they have injury problems all the time?
100%. So if somehow, some way he does and bucks that trend, Calvin DeHaan of all people plays a full season in the injury-riddled Colorado Avalanche world, you might see him. We'll keep you around for another couple of years. That one would not surprise me, but I'm not banking on it because he's just got a history of injuries.
And
so we'll see.
Like DeHaan, and if he does have a good year, he has really no loyalty to the Avalanche. So if somebody comes with more money, he'll probably go play with friends or somewhere else. Like I don't see him sticking around, whether it's an Avalanche thing or a him thing. But out of all the 1-year guys, I think Kiviranta is the most interesting.
Think so?
He's got this style that I think the Avalanche like, and I think he likes it here too. And I feel like the more time he sits in this Colorado system, the more of this mutual respect and cohesiveness they have. And I feel like he could have a couple games where he really surprises. And at the end of the year, he's going to make it hard for them to say, you know what, good luck. I feel like they really like what he brings to this team.
I think they like him in it's like they know what they're going to have with him. Like Cogliano, like he doesn't play like Cogliano. I'm not saying that, but they just knew they could just put Cogliano out there and not have to worry about what he's doing on his role. And I think they got more comfortable with Kiviranta doing that as the season went on. So you might be right there. If he has another just solid year and when he's out there, just does his job, does it well, why not? Why not?
He came in as a PTO, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he was. Yep.
So he's really gone through the loyalty rewards program here, and he's made himself kind of a common commodity where you know what you're going to get production wise, where you're not having to play this guessing game of what are we going to get, what line combo. Wherever Kiviranta is and whoever he's with, he seems to produce.
Yeah, I think as far as the 3 guys for me are DeHaan. I think it's possible. Kiviranta, I would say, I think if he has a good year, yes, I think he could be. The 3rd guy for me is Shillington.
I would agree.
I think people are really going to like this guy.
Yeah.
And I think you are going to see I don't know, 3-year deal, maybe 2-3-year deal. I don't think they'll go more than that. But I think he's gonna fit in real nicely in this defensive scheme that the Avalanche love to run. So he would be the guy on the top of my list that would be, to me, a no-brainer that he'll get a longer contract after this year.
With Shillington, it's going to feel like that Miles Wood when everybody was scratching their head, like, what's this Miles Wood guy? And what's he going to bring to this Avalanche team? And it was like 2 weeks. Everybody's like, I love this guy. Yeah. He is incredible. Sign me up. I feel like you're going to get the same effect with Shillington. Give him time. Let him cook.
Yep. Totally agree. So let us know if you have any of the guys who are on a 1-year contract. And we're not throwing Logan O'Connor in here, even though there's 1 year left on his contract. That was a longer contract. So we're not doing stuff like that. These are just guys they brought in for a year. Let us know in the comments section. One guy we know that is going to be around for quite a while, and that is Mr. Cale Makar. Where did he rank on the NHL Network's defenseman? Probably guess where it is. Let's talk about that next. First, we're going to talk about Gametime. Who doesn't love Gametime? It's got a new feature called Gametime Picks that makes getting tickets for your favorite live events even easier. And with the hockey season right around the corner, I know everybody out there is going to want to be snatching up some hockey tickets wherever you are. Use Gametime and the Gametime Picks feature. It filters out the fluff to show you only incredible deals on great seats, so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands and thousands of tickets. What else do we love about the Gametime experience? Well, they have the all-in pricing. You can toggle the feature on, and it shows you the total upfront with no surprise fees at checkout. You have the seat views. You get panoramic views from your seats in the app before you buy. The lowest price guarantee, or Gametime will credit you 110% of the difference. So download the Gametime app, create an account, and use the code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off of your first purchase. Terms apply. So create an account and redeem the code LOCKEDONNHL, LOCKEDON NHL for $20 off. Download Gametime today. What time is it?
Game time.
It's game time. Whenever I say what time is it, I just want to say it's time for lunch.
It's hammer time.
I think it's hammer time. All right. On the NHL Network, they are going through their top 20 in all the positions. They did the centers, where we talked about that the other day, earlier this week, when Nathan MacKinnon was number 2. I was none too pleased about that. And I said in that episode, this is almost like my argument was, if Nathan MacKinnon is the league MVP, and the Ted Lindsay Award, where the players vote on who the best player in the league is, how is he not, at least right now? Like, this is a power ranking, and power ranking is like for the here and the now. How is he not right now the number 1 center? I mean, he's number 1 player. He's not even the number 1 center, according to the NHL Network. And I said at that time, this is almost like if they do the defenseman and Cale Makar is number 1, I would have to say, like, that I can't use a different metric for Cale Makar. By the metric that I use for Nathan MacKinnon, Quinn Hughes should be right now the top defenseman in the league. So what do they go out and do? They put Cale Makar at number 1 on this list. And it's not that I have a problem with it. But like I said, if you're going to do a ranking, like this is our ranking for who's right now the best player at this position going into the season, how do you not put the guy who won the award for best defenseman at number 1?
Well,
it's just, I don't know.
Because he didn't make Bleacher Report's top 10 scores in the next 5 years. That's why.
That's true.
I mean, that's a distinguishing honor, but
we got those bragging rights. Yeah.
It doesn't make sense. It honestly doesn't. And I would have been perfectly fine with it being flip-flop, like Nathan MacKinnon being number 1 and Cale Makar at number 2 in his position. I would have been kind of like dusted my hands off, said this is perfect. There's nothing wrong with this list. But yes, and every time you describe Cale Makar, I mean, everybody says he's generational. He's the best defenseman in the game. I understand. But Quinn Hughes also, deservedly so. Hey, Quinn had a long road to get here. Remember the early days of Cale and Quinn, where it was like that competition and Cale would just blow him away every time, especially like when they would play head on. Cale was just a league above. Quinn he's come up to Cale's level. And I'm excited to see what next year looks like, what Quinn does as a follow-up. I mean, he's a cover athlete, and Cale was a cover athlete. So, like, they're going back and forth. So I'd like to see.
But Cale's a cover athlete by himself.
That's true.
Where Quinn needs his brothers with him.
Yeah. That's all. That's a
now,
whole thing.
Look, I mean, listen, like, do I think Cale Makar is the best defenseman in the league? Yes. And it's the question. It's like, if you're going to that question, if you're going to start a franchise, who's the defenseman you're going to take first? It's Cale Makar. And that's not debatable. So, like, all encompassing, Cale Makar is the best defenseman in the league. All encompassing, Connor McDavid is the best player in the league. But that's not how these lists are being formed. They are formed as right now. And I'm saying, like I said, with the McDavid one and MacKinnon, Quinn Hughes should probably be at number 1 right now. After 1 week into the season, if he has a poor couple games, you want to re-rank these, and Cale Makar is a good sit and throw him in, like, that's how these work.
Yeah.
They're fluid. And the way that they worded it is right now. And I take that as like that's a power ranking. Right now, the Florida Panthers are the best team in the league because they won the Stanley Cup. Nathan MacKinnon is the best player in the league because he won the MVP, Ted Lindsay. And Quinn Hughes is the number 1 defenseman in the league. That's not taking away from Cale Makar. It's just the way it's worded is here and now. It's different than all-around defenseman year in and year out. That guy is Cale Makar.
But it's also kind of an easier bet to say Cale Makar is the best, the number 1, because he's been better longer. Like Quinn has had to do
that's why you put him at number right. Yeah. That's why Makar is all encompassing number 1. Right.
Yeah. He's been better longer. He's been up there in the discussion and the conversation for a while. And it's always been wait till Quinn hits his stride. And then he's going to Quinn had a phenomenal year last year.
Right.
And will it be a one and done? Is this him finally hitting his stride? But like Cale came into the league on fire and Quinn had to come up to that. So I kind of understand why they went flip-flop there, but Nathan MacKinnon should have been number 1.
Yeah.
Because again, he's been better longer and I understand the awards and everything that really sent him over the top, but like Cale at number 1, honestly, it's really hard to debate. Even with the hardware, he makes it very, very difficult because every time you say Cale Makar plays like, it's always a Hockey Hall of Famer. It's not like, he plays like Romy Yosti here. No, it's not. They don't equate him to a peer or somebody coming up. It's always a hockey legend, and they say he even breaks the mold that way.
Mm-hmm.
He's generational, so it's hard to say he's not number 1.
Right. And I think it's just like I said. I go back to the wording on all it. Yeah, if you're just talking about the last season, if you're just bringing into account the last season and say, hey, we're just that's our metric. Cale Makar had a tough year defensively last year.
Yeah.
It wasn't his best year defensively. Offensively, totally fine. So again, like it's the wording to me. So, and that's why I go back to if it's all encompassing. He is it's not an argument. But if you're just basing it off last year, which is what I did with the Nathan MacKinnon thing, you have to put him at number 1.
Yeah.
And I think the same holds true for Quinn Hughes. It's not taking away from anything from Cale Makar. It's just it's recency bias, basically. It's just you have to put him there because of what he did last year. Like you said perfectly, what Makar's done over the longer haul, which is not this is 15-year career that he's had so far, but like he's done so much and so little, which is why you put him at the top of lists. So it is what it is. It's just for conversation. They're both excellent defensemen. I'm glad we got the guy we got. I'll tell you that.
Yeah. We're asking consistency out of the NHL network is what we're doing.
Come on now.
I mean, it can't be that hard.
So, all right. Let's wrap this thing up. We'll stop it there. And we should be back on Monday. I know it's a holiday, but I think we'll be around and have it. If we don't have an episode on Monday, maybe we'll just make it on Tuesday instead.
Yeah,
we'll see how the weekend goes.
I can throw down.
All right. Kyle's around. All right. That's going to wrap it up. So thank you everyone for tuning in and making it the first listen of the day. Always appreciated. He's Mr. Shaggy Von Doom, Kyle Sullivan. I am Chris Maselli. It's the Locked On Avalanche podcast. Enjoy your weekend.